Welcome to another episode of Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. Although it's another, I guess you could say, Flashback 32. I'm Gooey, here with my co-host, McKenna.
Hello.
And yeah, we're doing another PlayStation 1 game.
Yeah.
So people are still like, they're like, when will you do your Final Fantasy 7s and stuff like that? No, we're talking about WCW versus the world. Deal with it. But yeah, and it's our third episode, I guess, where we're talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
Did you ever envision, when you were in your past, like someday I'll have a podcast where I will talk about wrestling?
No.
Multiple. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've got a great guest today to talk wrestling with. From the Wrestling Brain podcast, we've got Josh Custodio. Hey, Josh, how's it going?
Well, McKenna's exactly right. That is the correct response. There's almost nothing more embarrassing than being a wrestling podcaster. So the less of it a person could do, the better. I would know. I carry deep shame with it. I do it 3 nights a week, like you say, on the channel. So it's very appreciated. I'm excited to be here, man. I'm good.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Yeah, Wrestling Brain is, if we're talking about wrestling podcasts, for my money, I think it's the best podcast going right now about wrestling, at least about AEW.
Well, I appreciate that very much, but more than just you, we got an email last week. You guys won't believe this. There's a guy somewhere in Scandinavia, and if we pay him $80, he'll put us on a list that says we're the second best. So even, I don't know exactly where people come down that we didn't actually take him up on the offer, but somebody thinks, that isn't that much money to be number 2 when you think about it.
You got to jump on that. Yeah, you can't look into those opportunities or think about them. You just have to embrace it and jump in.
Get the wallet open.
Just like I say every time we get the offer for the best viewers on Twitch.
Oh, McKenna.
Yeah, you can't turn that down. Yeah, Josh, thanks for joining us. Do you want to tell our audience, I guess, a little bit about like Wrestling Brain and what you guys do?
Sure, yeah. Twitch.tv/Wrestling Brain is sort of the home of everything we do, but it's also, we have podcast products and YouTube products. Well, our YouTube's a disaster. We're putting so much effort into YouTube, but the numbers are embarrassing. So if you're a YouTube person, for the love of God, go give us a hand. I'm in the mines making the worst thumbnails you've ever seen for less than 500 views. It's atrocious over there. But basically, we cover AEW and then sort of do wrestling cultural stuff around that is usually what I say.
Yeah, and I get it. YouTube is so like algorithm based and stuff like that. It's
break you guys' heart.
You're always doing YouTube stuff, McKenna, right? And you never know, like, what the hell, like, why did this one?
Some stuff gets tons of views, some stuff gets nothing.
Can you help us, McKenna? We had a video get 12 views. I'm not joking. 12 was the number of views on the video. I thought, why even upload it? I go tell my neighbors my thoughts here. Like, this would 12?
It feels like you have to do it just in case there's someone who it's like that is their thing, and it's like, even if it's one person, I'm like, I gotta do it.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Brick by brick, right?
Hopefully people can blow up that YouTube. I mean, we don't pull them in, so I don't know how we can help you, but it is a great show. Like, I look forward to, especially every week, your recap of Dynamite and stuff. Like,
thanks, man.
I listen to it. I'm like, these guys, like, I'm only somewhat of a recent convert to your show, but like, I think one of the first episodes I listened to, I'm like, okay, these guys get it. Like,
oh, that's a nice thing to say, man. Thanks very much. That's all the Zoobs, my co-host.
He's great as well. Yeah, shout out to the Zoobs. So I guess we're talking about wrestling and gaming today. And like a lot of people we've had on the show, like our age group, typically, like we're going through chronologically of the Nintendo 64 library, and that period is kind of like the overlap of like a lot of people our age, like when they got into pro wrestling. Is that the case for you? Like, what's kind of your backstory with wrestling?
So I can't remember a time in my life where I wasn't watching it, but I believe like I sort of start to gain consciousness around where I'm watching right in the window you're describing, maybe 96, 97. I'm 7, 8 years old, and it is the chief thing that I am so excited to watch.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it is funny. I've said that before, like the lifespan of the Nintendo 64 like almost like perfectly overlaps with like the peak of professional wrestling. At least you maybe not creatively, some might
but
argue
for popularity,
that, but popularity
for sure, culturally for sure, and even artistically, if you want to say the mid 90s, like you can cover a lot of ground there, get a lot of the best All Japan stuff. So I largely agree with you.
What do you remember, like what first kind of got you into wrestling? Like what's the first time you recognize like, oh, I'm like a big fan?
That's such a fun question. So, and I feel like when I say this, a lot of people have a similar experience, but I never, and this isn't we were the poorest guys ever. We just never got the pay-per-views when I was growing up. For whatever reason, or another, you might see one, a friend's birthday would be an occasion where maybe somebody would get to order it or something to that effect. So you didn't get to see a lot of the pay-per-views. And so when I realized I was a huge fan is during the Mick Foley ascent, like dying to get to school on Monday to talk to Spencer Booth, who I knew had watched the pay-per-views, and be like, get me to school on Monday, Mom. I can't wait to get to school to go ask Spencer what happened last night to Mankind. So I think in those moments where you're like eager to get to school, it sort of becomes a little revealing.
I remember that feeling. Like there was I didn't have as many. Like, there was a couple friends I had who would watch wrestling, but I got that thrill more, like, the next night on Nitro or Raw or whatever, when they were showing you, like, stills, and you're, like, trying to, like, fill in the blanks in your mind of, like, what, you know, whatever's happening to Mankind, him falling off the cage or whatever. You're, like, trying to, like, picture what that actually looked like.
The stills were a big deal, man. The kids today will never understand, but those stills, like you say, they were imagination fodder. You'd see somebody, like, freeze frame midair and be like, oh my God, when I'm older, I'm going to spend all my money on these pay-per-views.
Now it's like you get the GIF like right away.
Yeah, you just open your phone. You can't avoid seeing everything that happened in every match ever.
So you said there wasn't like a period in your life where you were like not like you've never, because a lot of people have gone through like the lapsed fan stuff like that, but you've always kind of
Isn't
maintained.
that insane? It's insane behavior. No, it's insane to stay into it for your entire life. Like most people naturally drift away at some point.
I have multiple times.
I think that's most people, and I'd love to know what brings people back in. But for me, all I can say is even now as an adult, and everyone in my life would tell you this, I'm a creature of habit and pattern, and I like building my weeks around little rituals or whatever you'd call them. And so weekly wrestling television, like a live product with no off season that you can count on being in the exact same spot every week, just suits me in a way, and it always has. And even without being able to put words to that when I was younger, now it's just so apparent to me that is a big part of it. I like the idea that it's always going to be there. It always has been there. These stories of these characters that I've known, you just asked me about Mick Foley, and he's retired now, but I mean, the presence that guy's had in my life, and I mean that. Like I can tell you, as an adult, I'm discovering him in IWA Japan, or like you say, interfacing with these guys through video games, or rediscovering them here in the game we're covering today. You're just like unlocking these memories, and you're almost just engaging with a world at that point more than any touchstoning any one thing of it.
That like steadiness of it. I mean, that's a big thing that is like why it's appealing to us. Like it's like a day. I mean, we don't like strictly like not plan to do anything that day, but we typically try to keep our Wednesdays free, you know, and it's like just a good excuse to kind of like give yourself a like, we're not doing anything. We're just going to have wrestling on, and we're going to watch
That's a big
wrestling.
part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like the most core part of our routine, really. Other than like we'll have like a stream day. But yeah, otherwise it's like, all right, it's Wednesday.
You know what that means.
You know what that means, yeah. So yeah, also in that time period, like, you know, we were saying video games were huge. I was talking to you. You told me you were a big gamer yourself. Like in this time period, what were you on? Were you more of a PS1 kid? Were you an N64 kid? Both, or what were you? What were you playing?
It's great to get to talk about this because it will parlay perfectly into talking about WCW versus the world later on too, because I was an insufferable guy when I was young. I know impossible to believe. You're all thinking there's no way. But when I was young, I was very much, and maybe you all knew someone like this, the thing I was doing the best, the one I didn't have or didn't know about, That's junk. Who could even be bothered with these things? So growing up, I had a Sega Master System, but I was too young to really be aware. I just played Double Dragon and Wonder Boy. I didn't really know about like teams or consoles or anything like that. But then when I got a Super Nintendo, whatever that would be, flash forward to I'm 8 or so, I just become the biggest Nintendo fanboy ever. Sonic's the worst thing imaginable. Who could ever?
Sure.
And so by the time it goes to the N64, you can imagine which way the wind blew for me. I was so thrilled to go to 3D with Mario, all these sorts of things, but also able to sort of have it both ways. As I grew up in an apartment building, and my very dear friend Bo, still to this day, lived right above me in the apartment building, and he had a PS1. So a lot of the PS1 classics I would play at his house, and so too for him, the N64 at mine.
Okay, so did it break down some of the barriers of the console wars for you?
I still was like, how do you have this PS1, man? Like, get real. Like, come on, the 64 has Mario, has Zelda. But yeah, definitely sort of opened my eyes to the rub, and Sega had this at the time too, and I'm sure you two remember, was always that, oh, the Nintendo is the less adult console, and you're a teenager. You want to be a cool teenager, and that sort of started to get its hooks into me a bit by the time the Final Fantasy VII started to come out. These things that did sort of seem like bigger, almost movie experiences in my mind.
Yeah, I've said this many times before, but I was always like jealous of the PlayStation kids. Like secretly, I was definitely much like, yeah, like it's got, I was always a Zelda kid, you know, so I'm like, I got Zelda, what else? Like, it's not on anything. Still to this day, that's kind of my reason for buying, you know, whatever Nintendo console. But yeah, as a kid, like, I was very self-conscious about it. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. I guess you just, when you're a kid, like, there is that need to, like, I would do that with bands too. Like if especially I was in like a small school, and if like one other person like knew about the band, I was like, they're not cool. Like only the bands that I have learned about myself are cool. They don't
like them like I do either. I like them in the cool way, and they like them in the bad way. Yeah, I very much relate to that. And I think, at least for me, I don't know if this is for you as well, but I think my identity cup was just so empty. I was so ready to be someone and be known for something and fly my flag and have opinions and all this sort of thing. And so I think I was just sort of glomming on to whatever I had to stand on hills for. But it is insane behavior in hindsight.
You never had that with consoles, or is there something in your life where you feel that when you were like, this is the good thing, and like all this trash that people like is the bad thing?
I don't think so.
No,
I think as a kid, I mostly kept to my...
You were just reading books.
Yeah.
Well-adjusted, I think they call that.
Yeah, in some ways.
In some...
Yeah, I feel you.
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week, and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.
Yeah, let's talk about the game. I don't have anything. Normally, before we go into our episodes, I like to like give some pop culture facts about what was going on. But because this game, it actually came out in our chronology that we already covered of N64 games, I'll just tell people to go back and listen to those, and you can hear what was going on. I think I don't know, the Macarena might have still been the number one song, but yeah, go check that out.
Probably.
But for
I mean, if the Macarena's the number one song, well, we're at society's peak here, I think.
It's coming back. Rodito's bringing it back, yes.
That's absolutely right, yeah. And I'm ready. I like those dances, everybody knows.
So WCW versus the World came out March 28th, 1997. So for our timeline, that lands it on the for N64 games right between Blast Corps and Doom 64. Josh, you got love for either of those games?
Big Blast Corps guy. Wouldn't consider myself a Doom guy, but have played half or more of the Dooms and enjoyed them all beginning to end. But yeah, Blast Corps, that sort of sandbox imagination destruction thing was meeting me right where I was at that age. I love that game.
Yeah, that was one of our, and neither of us had played that before we did it, but it was like, oh, this is why I love doing the show, is to get to like discover games like this.
Yeah, I think one of our favorite games that we've covered so far.
For sure. And Doom 64 actually, because it was like this unique version of it, and I had never played that either. Very cool game. So we're in a good era right now. Throw in WCW versus the World into the mix, and we're cooking. McKenna, before we get into the game, tell us about it.
WCW versus the World is a professional wrestling game featuring the WCW roster as well as many fictional wrestlers, mostly meant to represent actual Japanese wrestlers. The game has 7 different modes to choose from. In League Challenge, you'll take on a league of 5 wrestlers plus a boss wrestler to win that league's belt. Best of 7 has you creating your own belt and challenging 7 randomly selected wrestlers. In an exhibition match, you'll play a single match against another player or the computer. In Elimination Mode, you'll choose a 5-wrestler team and play an attorney, where the winner continues on to fight the next wrestler, or a league where wrestlers fight in a predetermined order. In a tournament, you can choose up to 8 wrestlers to compete and decide if you want to put a belt at stake. In the league match mode, you'll play in a round-robin tournament of up to 8 wrestlers where standings are determined by a point system. And in a double title match, 2 players with belts saved on memory cards will each put a belt at stake. Wrestlers can punch, kick, and perform holds and unique special attacks. Pulling off more difficult moves will increase your spirit meter, which will make you more powerful and more difficult to take down. Master your moves and win all the belts in WCW versus the World.
Wow, that's one of those descriptions that makes it seem like there's just like endless
packed.
possibilities in this game.
There's 7 modes. I'm just gonna...
7 modes.
Some of it does feel like, just hearing those descriptions, it was very nicely read. It sounds like going to an American diner where it's like, okay, it's eggs, hash browns, sausage, and bacon. And they're like, yeah, but we could present it to you in 64 different combinations. Do you know what I mean? So many of those were like, these are matches, one after the other in different orders. I don't know how much, in playing this game, it certainly didn't feel as deep as you made it sound, McKenna.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. I'm like, wow, this sound like, I'll rate a description and it'll be like, wow, this game sounds really great. And it'll be a game that was like mediocre.
Put it in the Smithsonian after that intro.
That's one thing I seek to do on the podcast sometimes, is give games that like maybe don't even deserve their due. Like,
love that.
There's some games we've covered that like you can't find anyone podcasting about them anywhere, and it's like, okay, this might be one you can, but you know what I mean? I want to like,
I love that,
at least attempt to understand them even if they're not great. So
I'm a physical media guy and a preservation guy, and so that somebody that there would be, 20 years from now, somebody wants to know about one of these lesser known games, that there would be a resource of, a couple of yahoos talking about it somewhere into a microphone, I think is nice.
I do hope there would be a better resource than just this, but
you're currently writing the Bible of the future of video games unknowingly.
So I do want to quickly shout out actually our buddy and Soundstone Podcast Network pal Darren Hupke. He has a series of books called 32-Bit Library, where each book he kind of covers a different developer for the PlayStation 1. And he just had a book that he's working on. I think the Kickstarter already ended, but it's about a bunch of I believe it's like the greatest hits collection games on PS1.
Oh, cool! That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's his books are really great. You should definitely check them out. But he's got one coming out that is a bunch of the greatest hits games. So not one developer, but a collection. And so this was one of those games. So you can get some more information there. That's probably a better source of facts than we're talking from the heart here. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I do have some facts. The original version of this game. Virtual Pro Wrestling that it was ported from was released September 13th in 96 in Japan. Like WCW World Tour that we played, they were developed by Aki and published by Asmic Ace, and the North American version was ported over and published by THQ. And so this one I was excited about because we did WCW World Tour, and I actually did not know about this game until much later in life. And so when we were kind of prepping for that episode, I was reading about WCW versus the World, and also watching old Nitros and seeing advertisements for it. And I was like, oh, I need to check this out. Like, it's the first game in this series, and you hear about all the other N64 wrestling games, but not this one. What's this all about? Josh, I wonder, like, did you play this game, like, back in the day, or what's your memory of this?
So this is so funny. So you're nice enough to invite me onto the show. I'm so excited. I'm saying, oh, going on Flashback 64. This is great. I'll jump on and I'll play WCW versus the World, a game that I don't think I have ever played before in my life. Like you had just said, I thought I was unaware of this game. I fire it up and I realize, now you covered it there, but to me, unknowingly to me, this was a game that my friend Ferg and I played as recently as 6 months ago, but not under the name WCW versus the World. He's got one of these, and I bet you two know about these things. I'd never seen one of these things before. He's on, the dark web. Lord knows where he's going. And he's ordered one of these consoles, and it's like, oh, it's got 10,000 games on this console, and it comes with two of the worst controllers you've ever felt. You're gonna love these. And
see those like flea markets.
yeah, that's right. The flea market or the dark web, more common than you think with those places. And so anyway, I'm familiar with this game, but I go, and I'm sure we'll talk about this. My experience with it is actually with Virtua Pro Wrestling, which is the full version of this game. WCW versus the World removes the licensing from it that I know. So my chief takeaway upon revisiting today, or not today, but when I was playing last weekend, was that the roster is not, they don't have the rights to the New Japan, All Japan, Pancrase wrestlers for this American release, and some of the naming conventions are just hilarious to me. I had a lot of fun, but no, did not play it back in the day, but have played it somewhat recently in my life.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'm also curious to like actually play those, even though it seems like other than the name, is there like much difference other than the name change that you remember?
No, I think it's identical besides the name changes.
There's still something, though, about that makes it feel more authentic when you're playing,
Yeah, even just seeing, like, these dream matches on the Crons, Mitsuharu Misawa, Butterbean. It's like, well, hang on, hang on. Like, that's fun versus, Overkill versus Hulk Hogan or whatever, So, yeah, there's a little bit of a thrill in the actual one for sure, I think.
McKenna, how about you? I know you don't have experience with this, but we did our episode where we talked about WCW World Tour, and I think we kind of expected this one to not be as a little bit more primitive or something like that, but what'd you think when we played it?
Yeah, it definitely felt that way, but I liked some of the presentation. The wrestler select screen is just like color coded, and it would be nice if you could see the like alternate costumes on there, but I did think it was a cool screen.
The like comic book looking artwork to select the characters is also very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Colored blocked out by Fed, but some of the pictures on that screen do not match the wrestlers at all. Ken Shamrock's portrait is Disco Inferno. They're calling him.
I was so confused by that. Yeah,
there's a few of them where they're calling him one thing, and I cross-referenced it with the virtual ones to make sure that I'm right. Where they're calling them certain wrestlers, but even then it's mismatched in the face. So this just has to be. I don't know if you two have read that book, Console Wars, but where they talk about the Sega America and Sega Japan relationship, where there's just so much information going back and forth that some stuff is gonna get lost in the wash. I feel like that must have been what happened here, but there's a couple examples of this is just two people not being on the same page and getting to a broken result. That, this is a big release to some degree, right? It's kind of hilarious to have a mistake at that scale in it.
I think I had read, where was it? I think it was on the Turk is Dynamite Kid's body with Vader's moves. So it's like not even like close, I would say. Yeah. Very weird.
Most insane one in there by far is that Hawk's name is Overdose. Now, I had to go and check this for those listening. I know this is a video game podcast. Hawk, unfortunately, did pass away by overdose, but after this game was released. Prophecy in the game.
Oh, my God.
Isn't that insane?
That's fucked up, honestly.
I know. It really is.
Get a hold of, I guess, THQ. They probably were responsible for the name changes, so... Maybe we got to get put in a game be named Josh Live Forever or something to this degree. If they're the one who wielded the pencil. Any I don't know, McKenna, character wise, anything that stood out to you? Anyone you preferred to play as? Is it the same as World Tour?
Yeah, Sting is the one I'm most familiar with.
Sting's our guy. Yeah,
that's a great guy.
You like him so much, and because he's been on AEW.
You actually know who he is.
Yeah. I mean, I know who like Hogan is, but most of these other guys, like, I've seen them from you watching old wrestling.
You don't have an emotional attachment to Lex Luger?
No.
Oh, come on.
No one does. Don't worry. It is pretty incredible, though, that you've seen Sting wrestle here or last year, I suppose, in 2024, and here he is in a video game at the turn of the millennium.
I know.
And I actually...
What, back as far as the NES, I think you can play a game with Sting on it. That crazy.
Rules. That's so heartwarming. And I do feel like him and Hogan get a bit more attention in their character models in this game. Like, they're definitely two of the... I mean, Hogan doesn't look like Hogan, but he does all the moves exactly as. And same for Sting. They nail the taunt. They nail all the moves.
And they are one of the only ones who have, like, significantly different alternative costumes. Because you can be Hollywood Hogan or yellow and red Hogan.
Surfer Sting. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I get it. You probably cannot do that for everybody, but I always find it interesting who they choose to have be like unlockable characters in the game, and like also thinking about it based on like where they are in like the TV storylines, because the games are always going to be a little bit behind.
It is really interesting to consider stuff like that. And even anything about this game coming together makes no sense to me. How do you get WCW, All Japan, Pancrase, and New Japan all in one video game, but then the distribution's different for Europe, for America, for Japan? I just find it all very... It feels like this could never happen now. Can you imagine a game being put out like this, with multiple feds all coming together to make a video game? It's just kind of incredible.
Yeah, similarly with like how just far apart the games came up, like months apart in a different year, but a few months apart. I feel like you don't see that as much. I'm guessing it is probably a thing where they're like talking about localization, and they're like, yeah, well, we could have all these wrestlers, but you'd have to pay for licensing, and they're probably like, who cares about, New Japan Pro Wrestling? We don't know no one knows who they are, so let's just,
I think that's probably
change their
right.
names.
So you end up with Billy Gaijin.
Oh, is that
Scott Norton?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly right. Nicely done.
And some of these people would end up on like the WCW roster, which I think is pretty funny. Like, if only they had held out a little bit longer.
It's also missing some kind of key people from around this time in WCW, though, for how expansive the roster was. And I didn't go... WCW is actually my blind spot in wrestling. I don't know a ton about it. I've seen all the major hits, but I've never gone through and done the Nitro rewatch. But to my knowledge, around this time, Hall and Nash, Macho Man, and DDP are all reasonably big parts of Nitro in the pay-per-views. None in this game.
Yeah, definitely, because they came in 90... Was it 95 or maybe it was
end of 95, beginning of 96, I think.
Yeah, that's what I always wonder, because we played WCW World Tour, which came out after this. It came out late 97, and I don't know if you remember, they had the Sting in that was very much like the weird, awkward, like that one week where he was
makeup yet.
Yeah, where he looked more like a clown or a mime or something. He looked more like that, but in this I guess they have it in his picture. He kind of has that look, but like on the cover, isn't it more full blown? Maybe not. Well, okay. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Is like they have something happen, but it's like some of that stuff, especially at that time, like moved along so fast that yeah,
it must just be a matter of that. Like they gave the information, and then the show kept going, and what was happening in the game was happening in the game. But still, I felt like Hall and Nash in particular, big misses here on this roster.
Not a big miss, but one thing that I like thought was interesting compared to the next game was I think the Giant was one unlockable character, and then he's like a standard character by the next one. I think they changed it to you have to unlock like DDP, I think it is.
That's an interesting twist. Feels like Giant is a lot more rarefied air than Diamond Dallas Page. Like, we don't really care if you unlock it or not. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I don't know. Oh, I guess while we're still talking about just the characters and their portrayals and looks, everything, we played the game a couple of different ways, and one way we played was like on like our big like modern TV, which makes a lot of old games look kind of weird, even with our thing that makes it run the right frame rate or whatever you call it. I'm not a tech person, but
I think it's the upscaler, if I'm not mistaken. Not a tech person either.
the models for some of these characters, like the textures on them. I don't know if you recall this.
Oh,
McKenna.
yeah. I remember when they were getting beat up and they would like start turning red. If you could see, if they were shirtless, you could see just like pixels on their body turning red.
And it was like some of them, I don't know if it's supposed to be like their hair or something, but it looks like they have like a rash or something all over their body.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting.
Just what you want to see in your superstars. Rashes.
Yeah, get them some ointment.
Yeah, come on. There's a sponsorship opportunity.
They would let anything sponsor them at that time too. Like it wouldn't be out of place.
For sure. You let dude wipes in, you're definitely letting rash ointment in the door. There's no doubt about it.
With like they've always got the game they're doing, but then it'll be like right now they're big on Valvoline. We're watching Nitro in early '98, and it's Valvoline is like their number one. Those who know, yeah. If you know, you know is basically their catchphrase. I didn't know that.
Love that. Good for, you know what? Yeah. Good for them.
Good for Valve. So one other character thing I thought was weird was the portrait for Ultimo Dragon was like, I thought that looked kind of, was I missing something about his history?
So I don't think that's supposed to be Ultimo Dragon, but I completely understand why you think so. I think that's supposed to be Super Delphin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar.
No, he's a lesser known luchador. But again, I could just be wrong because the drawings. I was doing that thing last week. And I'm like, well, this guy, and I don't think that's supposed to be Ultimo. But I know exactly who you're talking about, like the red and
it looked
blue
like a real
mask.
Dragon guy, a lizard man,
which is cool. Looking like a dragon is cool.
Yeah, we were playing as him, and I was like, once you get in there, it's like, oh, this is sick. But yeah,
what did you think? Did you find that the characters handled differently?
What do you think? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I got good enough at it to figure that out.
Yeah.
I felt like there were all amorphous blobs in this game. Besides, like, eventually, if my spirit thing, I hit a couple finishers, but I felt like the characters, even the smaller and bigger guys, didn't really come across as smaller or bigger.
That's a good point, because I do think, like, in terms of making them feel different in gameplay, I thought, like, even though you're much more limited in what you can do compared to the next game in the series, with the whole grapple system, that's not present here. I thought they did do a good job of giving them their animations and their moves, like, distinct. Like, you could pull off, if you're playing as, like, Sting, you can pull off a lot of the moves you want to play as Sting or whoever. But yeah, in terms of like them feeling different, I can see that, because when I compare it to World Tour, there were matches where I would play as the Giant and I would just do a bunch of power moves to people and they would die, basically. Yeah. And I was like, you can't do that here, really.
Yeah, I felt like the damage and spirit in this game was just, and again, I didn't put 10 hours into this game. I'm not pretending that I have some deep understanding of its exact mechanics, but I really didn't have a sense of how strong my character was versus other ones I was using, or who the hierarchy of power would be if I wanted to, that stuff's interesting to me in games. And now is really a part of the discussion around wrestling. Wrestlers themselves will get very tied to their rating in the game and how good they are. And I just felt in trying to search for that hierarchy, it was nowhere. Everyone was just sort of, and I agree with you. A lot of the animations and the taunts and the signatures and finishers, they feel like the characters that they are. Just in playing, I felt like, you could kind of pick anyone here and have a pretty similar match breakout, I feel like.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, when I was facing, like, Hogan, like, oh, is this going to be, like, really hard? You know, because would they have boosted his stats or whatever? But
that's a perfect example. Yeah, no, and instead it's just like wrestling everybody else, basically.
Which is, there's something egalitarian about that, you know? I like that you could put Eddie Guerrero up against Hulk Hogan in 1996 and he could whip his ass, yeah.
It's not an immediate squash, you know what? Maybe I'd be coming around to your side. That might be better.
I did get into a rhythm where I was playing through some of mainly I was trying to get the belts to unlock characters, and I did get into a rhythm where like all the matches kind of ended around the same time, and like from the same
exact experience.
Like, okay. And like
after X amount of time, spirit meter full, hit finisher almost always ends the match.
I don't think, like, if you compare, like, I don't know, even our experience multiplayer in this compared to World Tour, where we were like oftentimes
goofing.
There's a lot you could do goofing off, yeah.
Yeah. Not really that same opportunity for goofing off in this.
Especially because it's like to do, like in World Tour, and I know to some it probably feels a bit more simplistic because they added so much more by the time you get to No Mercy or whatever. But in World Tour, like if you want to try to do something that you think you can do in wrestling, it's not too complicated to figure out how to do it. Like how to like climb up on the turnbuckle, dive out of the ring, do a specific type of move. Like they don't have it all, but you can kind of do it. In this, it's like, it's not quite a fighting game where you got to do combos, but you do have to know like more precise button combinations.
It's funny you say that, man. I actually have written down that it plays a bit more maybe like a fighting game than what I associate with like a traditional pro wrestling game. This isn't Tekken, this isn't Street Fighter, but just in the way that the characters interact and just sort of how it's, I mean, I think you said it really well, where in a more natural, maybe more arcade bent wrestling game, you kind of can will your character to do, if you know what a wrestling match looks like, you're gonna sort of figure out like the pieces and the poise. This one's almost like more Fire Pro wrestling. It wants you to like build to a moment and have this, okay, you're at this level and then you're at this level and then you're up here. And maybe that suits some people, but for me, I think it's a little more fun to dive in, dive out and have a little bit of mayhem and, you know, this imagination zone, be able to sort of fulfill what you want to see the wrestlers do rather than being funneled down this very specific lane.
Yeah, like there's that element where you can kind of almost create the story of the match in your mind, like you would be like when you're watching.
Well, for sure. But don't you two find yourselves doing that in games in general? I know, look, I'm a big, I like the Dark Souls games and anything sort of adjacent to that. And I love when a boss has like a little bit of health left and I'm still kind of cooking. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to kill this thing in a cool way. Like, I'm going to kind of style on it. Like, I'm no longer going to play at maximum efficiency. 1 time out of 10, it bites you in the ass. You know, you're trying to get a cool clip to send to your friends, roll through a couple things, get a great kill shot. It'll bite you in the ass and you should have played it safe. But I want that opportunity to sort of be like, okay, I'm no longer playing this game in the way that is the most effective to play the game. I kind of just want to go off and you know, play some music and let me dance.
Your WrestleMania moment is what
you're that's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right, man.
Yeah, I think like you can get that for a moment in this game, but it's really just as far as like figuring out how to do like the move that you know the person does. Like well, you were getting the mail, but when I figured out how to put someone in the torture rack, I was like thrilled. And then it was like, well, that's over. Like I can't, there's nothing else to do here, you know?
It rocks that you remember it. You're like, oh, I learned the torture. But you were getting the mail, right? You like remember this very specific moment where you conquered the torture. It. Yeah, it was huge. You should have been there. I'm moving in with you guys just to not miss the next one.
You should see our setup for this has been ridiculous now because we're doing this show and we're playing PS1. We got a PS2 for this that we're using, but we've got our Nintendo 64 sitting atop it. We've also been playing Wii games on our Wii U, and we're not like, there's no like cord management happening here.
It's
yeah. So if you want to come over into that environment, you're more than welcome.
Well, listen, it sounds like a place I'd like to hang out. I don't give a shit about cable management. I see a couple of guitars and a New Japan towel behind you. That suits me just fine. I'm already in a spot that I know I'm comfortable.
Speaking of New Japan, like we talked about it already, but I do kind of wish they had those wrestlers like actual likenesses, because once you get past that and you are playing as them, we were just doing, I forgot what our matchup was, but we were playing as two, off-brand New Japan wrestlers.
And playing as Ninja.
Oh, Ninja. Okay, but that wasn't.
Forget who he is.
Wait, who is Ninja? I gotta know.
Yeah, now we have to. But you are right, because you think of how
the great Sasuke
makes perfect sense. I should have guessed that. It's interesting because you think about with that licensing, what that could have done for All Japan and New Japan in this situation. You've got a bunch of WCW people. They're into Hogan. They're into Sting. They're buying the new game. And here it's WCW versus the world. And it kind of promises on that. All the WCW people, and the world is a bunch of faceless, reminds you of someone people. However, if that would have been, here's Mitsuharu Misawa, here's Kenta Kobashi, and you're or let's say I'm a young person, and I'm playing the people I know, but then you see Kobashi open up with his machine gun chops or something. You go, that's kind of sick. Let's see what this guy's all about. I might have gotten to those people earlier than needing them to come and fight Samoa Joe in Ring of Honor in 2003 for me to get hip to them. But it is interesting because without that licensing, it's impossible. If I would have played this game at the time, I wouldn't have even known these weren't their real names. You know what I mean? You don't know what you don't know.
Especially because WCW was a bit more willing to acknowledge that stuff. Like, and they used it to their advantage. Like, oh, this guy was over in New Japan and he did this, and oh, he's back. Like they would play into that. So they
absolutely had the War of the World show on pay-per-view, WCW versus New Japan. So definitely. So Eric Bischoff stole the NWO from them. I mean, lots of very, very open ideas.
Well, maybe. Okay, yeah. Well, I don't want to get into Eric Bischoff.
Okay, sorry. I'm too down the rabbit. You'll have to stop me. I'll go 6 layers deep on wrestling at any time.
We were playing as these wrestlers from Japan, and I was like, once you get past the naming thing, it's like I wish that they were there, because like they have the sickest movesets. Like it's unbelievable. Like you play as whatever, Hogan or whatever, and you put someone in a grapple, and it's like, oh, I'm wrenching your arm a little bit. But then you play as these other guys, and they just have, like these crazy moves that like you wouldn't even see on like WWE to this day. I don't think you wouldn't get that in AEW you might get some of those moves, but
I think you can say minute to minute those guys are doing more dangerous wrestling than certainly modern WWE, and very lots of modern AEW. Some Darby Allin sort of breaks that average.
Yeah.
But as a generality, I actually think you're right. Like these guys, and it's funny that is communicated through the game too. And I suppose it would have to be because you're taking the actual people and doing their moves. But again, you wonder how that would have, sort of resonated in a young person. Be like, well, the coolest guy to play as is the giant barrel of a man Japanese guy. I wonder why that is. Like, I think this would be useful information for young me.
It could have been bad news for American wrestlers, because they'd be like, oh, we got to start doing.
Yeah, why do I have to get dropped on my head?
The eye rake isn't quite holding a candle.
Yeah, not quite.
So the modes. There's a lot of modes, but we didn't play a lot of the modes. Like the conceptually are cool. Like where you beat one mode and you create your own. I don't think you actually like do anything to create it, but you get a belt that you can challenge other kids for with your memory cards. Kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, I actually did play that mode, and I just viewed it as sort of like a King of the Hill or Boss Rush adjacent sort of mode, and I had fun with it where, okay, put your own belt up and see if you can go all the way. Again, it's sort of stretching something that's already in the game. Like, if you had to recreate this mode within the confines of the game without the best of 7, you could do it with, like, a pen and paper and running 7 singles matches. But,
tournament, yeah.
Yeah, like, a lot of these things are really, like I said, one and the same. But I appreciate it. And when I was young, I would have gotten a lot of mileage out of any of these modes, because we would sit around and play these games forever, dude.
We just did, I think together, like, exhibitions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I mostly stuck to the leagues.
Yeah, you unlocked some wrestlers.
I got.
Did you get all of them?
No, I didn't get all of them. I got like maybe half of them. I got Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's who I went for first, obviously. I got Major Tom, who is actually
I totally blanked.
Terry Funk.
I remember. Thank you. And again, the portrait looks nothing like Funker. The model actually does, but the Major Tom portrait, if memory serves, looks nothing like Terry Funk.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. And who else did I unlock?
Tom.
Oh, I unlocked it was a luchador. I can't remember who it was now, actually, because I just did that, but
maybe a Jushin Thunder Liger.
We did play as him, so it probably was, but it doesn't matter.
I think his name's just Lightning in this game, if I'm not mistaken.
You couldn't unlock Glacier, so that disappointed me. World Tour had that. This did not have Glacier
at that point.
Yeah, I was pretty pissed. But yeah, that was mainly what I was shooting for, and I just didn't play it. I think I accidentally did one league more than once, and I was like, I'm not going to play through this 6 times. Like I said, I couldn't have those, like, even in World Tour where I got good enough on like the easier mode to where I knew I was going to win. It was like you said, I would still play through those modes and have fun because I could kind of experiment and try different things. Whereas in this, it got boring to replay through that mode like over and over and over. I could see more longevity out of like playing more competitively maybe with another human, but that's not our style. I'm not much of a competitive gamer myself either. But it is funny to think about too. It's like when we changed, right? Where there's this younger me was able to extract a lot more out of less in a way that I miss. Like you could put on the same CD all day and give me these game modes. And it's like, well, forget about today, man. I'll waste my summer listening to this CD, these game modes. And now I guess I need a lot more offered up for me game than WCW versus the World was able to give me. And mechanically, I didn't fall in love with this game. Do either of you know the game Empire Wrestling? No, I don't know.
So I'm obsessed with this game. No one knows it. Don't worry. I ask people all the time if they know this game. No one's ever heard of it, except for my friend RL. Shout out RL. But it's made by this one guy, and he made his best attempt at I guess the gen after this, like a NWO versus WCW Revenge or a No Mercy type game. And it's all fake guys. So all these funny names and whatever else. But I know that game intimately. I've put 120 hours into it. Love this game. And I feel like I know what a crappy engine like this feels like through that game because it embraces the jank and all this sort of thing. And I was surprised that this fell so short of it to actually play. And I don't know how much that took away from my enjoyment of the game, but ultimately I just wasn't emotionally engaged with the matches I'm having. And I'm very easy to get swept up into things. And I just didn't find this game was able to get me to that gear. Did you find that at all? Or were you, like you were saying, unlocking this character, unlocking that character? Like, were you having a gas doing that?
To a certain extent. I think when when I was if it was a little bit more engaging, I probably would have tried to unlock everyone just to see what they're like. But kind of like you said, there isn't that like I didn't feel like, ooh, I'm gonna get the giant, and that because I would actually play as the giant a lot in World Tour because I loved that way of just TKOing people. But I knew if I got him in this, it wasn't gonna be different, So it did sort of hit that. I wouldn't say there was something I appreciated about it though. Like I thought it was solid. Like the way people talk about it is like, oh, that's like the one before they figured it out, which is true. But looking at the time, it had like decent reviews and generally positive. I don't think like a wrestling game had been presented like that before. So I found
it's right before the jump, right? It's really right before the leap into greatness. And you can see the bones of it there, but we're not there quite yet.
Yeah, so I found something to appreciate about it. And I think there's some fun to be had, like just the historical aspect of it. Like I'm always way too kind to games on the show because I find like the aspect of discovering them and seeing like what Sting's character model looked like and the weird art we talked about. Like there's something that always makes me smile a little bit.
Yeah, but that's the show I want to listen to. You see how much just general videos, podcasts are not about liking the thing that you're actually watching. It's about commenting on something larger, how it interfaces with. I like listen. I'm like this with wrestling. Right? I like talking about the matches and the promos. Like I love pro wrestling, and I feel in kin to you saying there, where it's like, I'm kind of easy on games. I find ways to extract interest out of them. What did this get? Like, I'm interfacing with the art form. I'm gaining knowledge. I couldn't relate to that anymore, and that is definitely who I want hosting a show rather than like, this stinks. This sort of thing. This is a lot more interesting.
And we certainly have played some games that have tested us for sure.
But,
yeah.
Sure. I am sure.
But yeah, speaking, like, I think just in it being that style of game was really cool. I think the grappling mechanic that the later ones adopt is really what makes it sing, but I think there's something to it here, even if it doesn't all come together. I think for you it might be different though, McKenna, because we were talking about how it's sort of like a fighting game, but you were kind of saying like, oh, I can't do, and you're not a fighting game person either,
no.
But you're like, I can't do my.
It's not in a lot of fighting games. I can just button mash, and we've talked about the fact that I've beaten you in a lot of fighting games just by button mashing, and I tried to do it in this one, and I was like, I can't really do that here. It's not working. I need to know what I'm doing a little bit.
You can things will get countered, or like the buttons are a bit more. You have one strike button, or like really two, I guess, but
yeah,
that can easily get kind of evaded or blocked or countered. So yeah,
and like positioning matters a lot.
Yeah, like you have to be like really up on them to grapple. That was I think your biggest like. You wanted to
yeah, I'm like, I need to stay back, but I also need to get close.
I want to grapple from a safe distance.
It's actually in that exact way that it reminded me of Fire Pro, McKenna. I'm right along with you, where it's very deliberate in how you have to approach it. It doesn't have this arcadey spirit of no mercy and, I can invite the guys over from my soccer team. I'm 12 years old. We can have a 2-liter of soda, and everybody can jump in, grab a kendo stick. Everybody can sort of make do. This game has very little accessibility in that way. It is really, again, like Fire Pro, trying to escalate the match. You can only do so much once you're getting more spirit, which is offense out. So yeah, I felt that too. Like if you just want to walk forward, jab, and then try and get a hold of them and hit a pile driver, like you'd have no luck trying to get that game plan across. And I think the later ones have a lot more freedom and fun in sort of being able to develop your own game plan in that way.
Yeah, like even just like we were talking about, just like trying to Irish whip someone in like a direction. It's like it's very complicated to do some of the most simple like techniques you would think that you would want to pull off like easily.
Basically as hard as it is to do in real life, which let me tell you, Irish whipping someone in real life, really difficult. So hard to
I
rip them on their arm and get them to run 10 feet. It's so get run. It's almost no one.
Who breaks out into a run?
It's really hard to do.
That's actually, that reminds me of something. This is more of a meta wrestling thing, but we've talked about it before on the podcast where I will like get really up in arms about like something being absurd or whatever. And McKenna, who's more of like a casual fan, is like, well, it didn't bother me because like it all comes off as very absurd. Right. So, and I think Irish Whip is probably one of those where you're like, yeah, we all just agree they start running when you pull on their arms. Yeah,
well, that was, I think, I forget who pointed it out, but it was somebody, and I'm a giant Bret Hart guy, and Bret Hart is somebody who takes it all very seriously and would find he'd be heartened that you were happy and fired up. But I think it might even be Billy Gunn. I forget who, but somebody's just like, yeah, but none of that is as fake as an Irish Whip. Like, no matter how you think this finish is so crazy, it's so out to lunch, it makes no sense. But there's so many things like, why isn't he closing his fist and punching him in the face? And it's like, but that's the beauty of kayfabe. We all choose to try to establish some set of rules that we all agree on and play within that zone. But I could imagine from the outside, it is like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, these are people stripped to the waist, dressed insanely, yelling at one another, and then cooperatively fighting. Like, the idea that it could get, oh, you're mad about some detail in there is a little funny. I get it.
Yeah, doing some of those basic maneuvers you'd think would be easier. You can get knocked out of the ring, but there's not much you can really It's even hard to get out there other than when you're thrown out.
I couldn't figure out how to do it. It would always yank me to the turnbuckle to climb the turnbuckle. Like I could not figure out how to just rope exit through the center four of either side of the ring. Consistently, I had it happen, but I couldn't like find the sweet spot.
I couldn't either, and like I only ever usually got out there by getting like thrown out somehow.
Exactly.
And I would like taunt the enemy, and they just come out, and I'd be like, "What the hell? Like, why is it so easy for you?" I don't.
You're just the best taunter in the world. Maybe that's it. Nothing can stop them at that point. You've got them so incensed.
So mad, yeah. No weapons, nothing like that. So, but yeah, I think overall, I think it's pretty decent for what it's going for. I mean, it presents like I think one of the reviews I read pointed out like it presents wrestling as more of a sports game than like a fighting game, and I think that was really revolutionary.
Yeah,
and
I think that's true too.
And the presentation, I thought the presentation was good, and we didn't talk about this. When you turn it on, you get a full video intro. Mm-hmm. You don't get that on N64 with your damn cartridge.
Looked really nice on the CRT.
Page 2 of my notes. Cool intro video underlined. This is the shit my friends and I like. This would be a reason to own a game back then. Nowadays, again, you got YouTube, you have access to this stuff. A video like this would be something that my friends and I would turn off the N64, or in this case, the PlayStation, turn off the PlayStation, turn it on, turn off the PlayStation, just to watch this damn video a couple times. It's sick.
We've played some pretty horrible PlayStation games. You know what I'm talking about. Fighting games. We've played some horrible ones, but they had sick CG videos when you turn them on, and it's like that makes it all worth it. I don't even care about the game.
How bad are we talking? Have you played like an atrocious fighting game that hardly works on PlayStation?
We did a whole episode about a trilogy of games. The Criticom. Have you ever played Criticom?
I'll go listen. This sounds great. I've never even heard of Criticom.
So it's a similar premise to this in that we played its sequel. Dark Rift was an N64 exclusive.
Okay.
So, but the original game is a PS1 exclusive, and so we're like, let's go see what was going on with the PS1 version, and it's almost delightfully bad of a game. Like we got into it for a lot of like silly reasons, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
Just as you say fighting game, I should say another thing that really made me feel like WCW vs. the World was more fighting game than more current wrestling game is on the character select screen. My mind almost latently goes to, it's going to be wrestler theme songs playing here, or Muzak versions of wrestler theme songs on earlier consoles. This is like a straight up Marvel vs. Capcom banger on the character select screen. I don't know the name for this style of music besides video game music, but it is not what I would consider, like it is a character select screen in that way, very much presenting as a fighting game. And I don't mind that as like a stage setter and sort of a mindset to enter a match in.
Actually, I kind of like the music in this.
Me too.
I thought it was better than than World Tour even. I thought that came off. It might just be because maybe the CD quality audio made a difference. Maybe that different composers. I don't know. But like, that sounded a lot. I mean, they both have like an element of cheese to them, but the World Tour soundtrack sounded a little too corny compared to this. It had like a cool factor that I don't know what it was. Even just in the like the menu sound effects sounded cool and stuff like that. So I'm not sure.
And very of the time, I feel like too, like all of it. It's nice to just, I'm not surprised that you're enjoying revisiting Nitro alongside this era of games. Like that not only sounds like something I would do, there is like, you're getting the whole dose of things from this era. I can't keep just telling all the differences in the roster, but I have to get one more off my chest.
No, please.
The inverse of all the others. When you do unlock the Giant, in ring, he doesn't look like the Giant. He looks like Andre.
Oh.
He's wearing like red trunks and has an afro.
Oh, okay.
But it's clearly it's the Giant. It's WCW. But I was like, is this an old Andre character model? Do they not know what the Giant looks like? It was truly bizarre to me. He's wearing red trunks.
Do you think that maybe when in the Japanese version they're like, this is not WCW versus the World. We don't give a shit about the Giant. We care about Andre the Giant.
Yeah, I wonder, man. Is he? It could well be. I would love to know the answer to that, but it was just baffling to me because all the other ones, the portrait doesn't match. And then this one you get right. It's like, well, now the character doesn't match. They couldn't quite get it right 1-to-1 on a lot of these.
Also, if this is like the wrestling time jump difference, like this probably would align with like the era in WCW where like all of his character was basically he's Andre the Giant's son. Like that was like all the promos were about that, and they were whether it was like they were always implying that or like slipping it in or talking about it. So maybe that was like, you know, maybe they had a plan for him to change his look even too. Who knows?
I love thinking like that. It is also just the most wrestling thing imaginable. Like, oh, we got another big guy. Well, we have a French big guy, but forget about that part. This is his son. It's the son of the big guy is the big guy. It makes perfect sense. Like, the creative doesn't go beyond that. He's son of Andre the Giant. The Giant. That's their last name.
Yeah, Mr. Giant.
Yeah, his name is their middle names are and he is yet to be named, and his father is Andre.
I don't know what else became like in between this and some of the NES ones we played.
We have played some NES wrestling.
We played some NES wrestling games recently, recently, which were not great. They were okay, but
some were better than the other.
Yeah.
Are they ports of the arcade games or are they NES specific?
I think these ones. I think there was one that was, and then one that was like made for. I think it might have just been tag team wrestling. Might have been one of the games. Yeah, something like that.
The arcade machine Royal Rumble from that era is pretty good. And I think it had home console releases too.
I think we have played that one too. We played one that's kind of like Mortal Kombat style, where it's like
nice.
You remember that one? They had like it was like you played. They had Brett, Sean.
I know exactly
the
what you're talking about.
I think was one of the characters.
Is it called Superstars?
I don't remember.
I can't remember, but I know exactly the game you're talking about. Great character art in that game too.
But in those earlier, it's hard to like. How do you approximate wrestling with two buttons? You know,
right?
Like, yeah. I don't know.
That really
I guess
is a problem.
I didn't play a lot of like Super Nintendo wrestling. Like, are there any that?
There's Fire Pro. I think it launches on the SNES, but that might only be a Famicom Japanese release. I'm not sure, but not to my knowledge. I was a Super Nintendo kid and a wrestling kid, and I didn't have a wrestling game for Super Nintendo. Oh, I think there is one. Maybe I'm the guy who's only seen Boss Baby comparing every movie to Boss Baby right now, but I feel like maybe this one is called Superstars.
Superstars, okay.
Or Superstar Wrestling or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think I could see like stuff coming out. With SNES, you get a bit more options of like control styles and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely come along. Like if you compared this game to whatever tag team wrestling, you'd be like, damn, like this is groundbreaking. So, and it kind of is in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's ahead of itself, right? Like it just can't quite. It's not the world, and it isn't ready for what it's trying to be, and it's right around the corner. It's going to get so much better than this. The most damning thing I can say about this game is I love the style of game that's right after this. I love, like I said, Empire Wrestling, which is evocative of this style, but this game still couldn't get me in the door to really love it. And I really think this happens with the album before the big hit, the things of this nature. This is right where this is. It is a band not quite at their full powers, but they needed to do this to get there. Or maybe for a video game analogy, maybe this is the Wii U, where it's maybe seen as a failure at the time, but a needed step to get to the Nintendo Switch,
right.
Given the benefit of hindsight.
The Wii U of wrestling games. I like that designation.
There you go. Tie it all together.
Empire Wrestling, I'm going to have to check out. That sounds awesome.
Could not possibly recommend this game enough. It'll make you laugh out loud. Very silly, but also very fun.
I think a couple small notes I had was in World Tour, they had blood. You have blood in that, which I think is another.
I didn't even notice that. You're right.
That's another thing that just like kind of makes the matches a little bit more interesting because like, again, it's that story you're kind of building in your mind. I think that would have been cool to have. Really you have your spirit meter, but like you said, it's hard to tell, where you're at. And so I feel like, something like that is a clear delineation of like, oh, you're fucking this guy up. He's got all red now. Yeah. And then another thing, we talked a little bit about how, this could have contributed to like bringing more Japanese wrestling to the forefront. I like that they have the like tournament mode where it's like the round robin tournament, because I kind of associate that more with like Japanese wrestling, like New Japan does that. And I mean, AEW does it now, but back then you never, I don't think you ever saw that in like American wrestling. So I think that's
to my knowledge, the Continental Classic is the first repeating round robin tournament in North American pro wrestling.
Yeah, love that shit.
Oh, I shouldn't say North American because I don't know the first thing about luchador wrestling, but in American pro wrestling.
Totally. So yeah, that's cool. That's cool that that's here. Again, I didn't indulge in that necessarily, but I love the idea of it. So
definitely, and you're right. That is a nice inclusion from that world.
Do you have any other thoughts on the game that you wanted to talk about? Anything else you wanted to get out before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I like this show because it's heartwarming to return to stuff like this and sort of see where we've come, and in the ways sports are like this, wrestling's like this, where in our minds you're like, oh, things are progressing, things are getting better. And it's like, or were they progressing to a point where they were best and then getting derivative? And I think exploring that across all forms of media and art is really interesting, but I think video games probably present the most hands-on. The cartridges are still around. You can still engage with them exactly as you did. And so getting to revisit something like WCW versus the World and seeing it's so easy for me to tap into the person I was at that time and sort of have them communicate with me now. And we can have a little check-in where it's like, no, things get quite a bit better in this lane. But the games don't really ever get a lot better than what's coming. And I think that's interesting and just an opportunity to revisit all of that. I think WCW versus the World represents, like I said, it's the year 1999 in the way, the millennium's coming and they're right around the corner. And I thought this was a really nice sandwich to take a bite out of and revisit that exact moment before everything really starts cutting my way. And I'm really able to, as a young nerd, bite into these steak dinners that are full-fledged, pointed right at young me, begging his parents at his birthday and Christmas for things. So worth visiting on those terms. But if you're looking for the experience that this is going to be evoking, the real deal is happening within the next couple of years, is my main takeaway.
Yeah, you definitely, if you want to play good, you're going to get a Nintendo 64 for your wrestling, for sure. Or something later. I don't know. I guess that's still a thing they're struggling with wrestling. I didn't play the AEW game, but it does not look...
All right, who's got 2 hours? Let's talk about Fight Forever. This is, what a mess, man. Oh my God.
We thought about getting it. Might be fun, but then I don't know.
I think you can get it on the real cheap now. Like it'll go on sale for real low. So you might get a couple.
Maybe we just should
out of it.
That'd be a fun stream.
Yeah,
I'd tune in. I would absolutely tune in if you guys were streaming Fight Forever. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I think what you said is like that's kind of what's fun about doing the show. We're kind of exploring it, through like I guess like what was going on at the time, but also we're talking about the even earlier years of our lives, developing like some of our first memories. WCW is a big part of that for me. Like,
sure,
the peak of my fandom of it was like when it was considered the worst, but that's only because when I was like when this was happening, I was like 7 and I was watching, and it was like these are core memories where it's like I can't tell you the details, but I just like my world was just shaped around like Sting being the coolest guy ever to live. You know what I mean? So that's what kept me going into the bad years, was that like, well, no one could ever be cooler than Sting.
Well, and that is ultimately that is such a big part of wrestling, and also just the time that you're into it. It's been so funny to me. I work for a pro wrestling company, Invoke Pro Wrestling. And one of the camera guys there is a real young guy. I think the world of him. Stix05, I think, on Instagram. If you want to follow him, he shoots the whole Vancouver scene, and he's really great. And he's a great young guy. But he was, 13, 14, 15. In 2008 and 9 WWE, an era which I consider to be basically the worst in wrestling. Just like unrepentantly bad, like
I was
nothing
so out
good
at that point. Yeah,
and you were so right to be. You had taste. I was, Lord knows what I was complaining about it on the forums. And now I meet young Jaden, and he's just like, oh man, yeah, I remember that Sheamus title run. I was so into him. That was so sick. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you know? It was horrible. Here I am yelling at this guy when his youth was actually bad. But it really is just where it meets you and you find these characters to hang on to through the good and the bad. But it's very funny Sting was enough to get you through WCW 2000.
Yeah, oh yeah. But that was pretty much where it ended for me for a while with wrestling, mostly.
Now
but
you're back, baby.
I'm more in than ever. McKenny,
I love it.
Say. It's got me now for sure.
It's the best.
But and then just in terms of games themselves, like it's such an interesting era to look at too, because like similar to how we were saying with wrestling, where things would be so much different, like where they'd have to adjust. Like the gaming world is so much more like you look at a game like 5 months apart. Couple months apart, like the technology and like the game design is changing so constantly, so it's fun to like take a look back at like a specific snapshot in time and be like, what were they trying to get across mechanically then? And I think of that as like with wrestling and like how you do all these complicated things. Like I find that like such an interesting challenge that they had to overcome, and it's fun to like look at it in this time.
Totally. And then I would imagine, and I have this with wrestling, watching so much old stuff and reviewing it, is you start to become sort of really aware of trends when you're looking at things chronologically. You're like, oh, this is an answer to this a little while ago, or this is what the hotness is right now. And I imagine that video games probably have a big call and response, or the people chasing the big game of the time. Maybe that's more popular now. I'm not really sure. You two would have a much better sense of that than me, but I think that'd be very fun to think about and visit. Which is why I'm starting my podcast, Flashback 65. It's a little bit better than this one. I highly recommend give it a listen. On we just launched our first podcast, Flashback 65.
Don't you dare one up us! Oh my god!
Don't worry. Same. Although it is a joy to get to talk about video games. Very fun to come on here. But no, I will not be launching Flashback 65.
Now you can climb into the ring against some of the toughest wrestlers in the world with WCW versus the World, a sizzling new action game for Sony PlayStation. Call now and you'll get in-your-face 3D wrestling action with WCW versus the World. Available now in this TV offer and wherever video games are sold. WCW versus the World. Call 1-800-929-8661 or send $29.95 plus shipping and handling to the address on your screen. Call now.
Hello, we are Kirby Conversations, a podcast on Kirby, along with other adjacent subjects like Smash Bros., HAL Laboratory, and other related Nintendo games.
In each episode, we take an in-depth, well-researched look at a Kirby topic, drawing on our decades of experience playing Kirby games, creating Kirby-related content, and working in and around the video game industry. I'm Sean Douglas. I'm a theater and video game journalist.
And my name's Bridget. I'm an online Kirby commentator and collector.
Our team also includes photographer and Nintendo ambassador Kai Captain Dangerous Parker and Gigi, the editor-in-chief of Wick Kirby. Join us for deep dives into Kirby's history, interviews with industry professionals, and even inside looks at Nintendo, as together we explore all things Kirby and HAL Laboratory. You can find Kirby Conversations on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Well, it was great to have you. Like, we would love to have you back and actually we'll talk some N64 sometime. I got some choice games from you that when we reach in our timeline, I'll definitely hit you up and we'll get you on here and talk about, well, we can talk about anything from the 90s if you want.
You couldn't keep me away. I would love to come back. I love well, anyway, I love being here. This is great. I've done a poor job magnetizing getting to talk into a microphone about video games to my life. They're a great passion of mine. I get to guest on stuff and talk about MMA. I get to, of course, do Wrestling Brain and talk about wrestling. But I'll sneak in here anytime I can to fire off some video game takes.
I got you actually down. I think one of the games that's coming up, I won't commit you to it here on the podcast.
No, I'll commit right now. Blind. Yes is my answer.
It is in one of the biggest like kind of trends of that era, which is fighting games that are in the shadow of Mortal Kombat. Trying to have all the that's probably been our biggest trend, right? Like games with like the fatalities and like the like how do we reinvent Mortal Kombat?
Makes total sense.
Yeah. So
what if they were made of clay? It explored very
exactly.
easily on N64.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get you on for that for sure.
Anytime, you two.
We already plugged your show, but anything else you want to get out there about Wrestling Brain? This probably comes out in like a month, I'd say. So, but just in general, where can people find you and stuff?
Yeah, I'm at J0SHC on Blue Sky if you want to see me get my posts off. And top of the show, I got to twitch.tv/WrestlingBrain. I really appreciate it. But I say this on stuff that I guest on. If you're listening to this show right now, support these guys because it's a labor of love doing this stuff. And I know for me, the shows I love, they bring me a lot of respite, and on my commute or if I'm on the train, I love listening to podcasts. And so if you're enjoying this, let these two know, hey, enjoy the show or whatever, wherever you're listening to this, rate and follow it because it's a grind, man. These guys aren't getting rich off the backs of this. They're doing something for the love of the game. So support them as they can.
Thank you.
And appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah, people check us out, flashback64.com. Check out the other shows on our network, soundstone.network. And we'll see you next week. We've got some N64 game actually coming, so bye.
Bye.
The Zelda cast is getting even bigger. Join us on patreon.com/SPNet for access to the Zelda Cast XL, the new bonus show featuring podcasting's dynamic duo, Andy Spiteri and Gooey Fame.
We're taking a new approach to do our bonus shows and giving you more of what you love, letting you get more involved in the show itself. Each month, we'll have some fun and play a few games, answer some Patreon questions, and discuss some Zelda topics on a more personal level.
Consider joining for only $4 a month, and you can ask us questions about Zelda or anything else on your mind. Let us know what topics and segments you want us to discuss, and be a part of an amazing community of Zelda fans hosted by two best friends.
The ZeldaCast XL is taking everything you love about the show and ramping it up even more. So come and hang out with us, only on patreon.com/spnet.